Hey everyone, my name is Joey and welcome back to the second devlog of my survival card game named Aeterna. Now we have a lot to talk about and a lot to go over, so this devlog will be jam-packed with content since last week. Today we'll be talking about game direction, we'll be talking about a little bit of art, and a day-night cycle. I'm trying to upload these devlogs between every week and to every month depending on progress, and since we're in the initial stages of development, devlogs will be coming out more frequently and I'll be able to capitalize on making more content for you all. I actually spent some time creating a new logo, so let me hear some feedback in the comments. I think it's a good start, but I think it does need some revision. You might also notice, like I said in the previous devlog, make sure to check that out if you haven't already, that I got a new mic. So the mic quality is a hell of a lot better through these videos, and hopefully it can add some value. Anyways, let's hop straight into where we left off. I had just really worked up on setting an initial scene and really worked on the basic card system in the first devlog and came up with a lot of ideas. With that, there was a lot of change from the original project that I was going for. To start, I revamped how the cards look to be able to help a little bit out with my pixel art skills, but to also just give the cards a good facelift. I implemented a front piece card that I made in A-Spray and messed with the Unity UI a little bit to make it look better and match. I think it turned out pretty good, and I'll definitely make sure it looks better in the future. First off, it's still going to be the same core concept: draw a card, decides your fate in game. However, unlike in the initial prototype from college, there is actually going to be an environment. Instead of you just drawing cards, there will be a physical player that you can play as. We'll call him James. And you can move him around the scene to give you access to the rest of the game's content. You will be at what we call your base camp, and from your base camp there will be areas to craft, shop, and so on, all of which will be directly accessible to you, James, the movable player. With that idea in mind, I took a massive detour from the system that I was going to dive into, that being the inventory system, and worked a lot on pixel art. For now, you, the player, are in a starting plains biome, so that was my starting point. I made a nice ground for the player to walk on, 2 pieces of some parallaxable backgrounds, a foreground, and some clouds, because clouds are always nice to have and give a little bit of extra life to your scene. I threw together a working parallax script and a simple moving clouds generator, and here we have a decently nice scene to start us out with. I know my pixel art skills need a lot of work, and trust me, as the series goes on, I'm going to try my hardest to improve my art, and these background and assets will go through lots of iterations. However, for now, we just need to get something on the table. Next was the player. I made a quick movement script and stuck it straight into Unity. But now it's time for art. Turns out I suck at creating player art. I'll get around to it eventually, probably in the next devlog. However, after a good 5 hours of YouTube tutorials and player creation attempts, I feel like we can just leave James as a square for now. I also took the liberty of setting up Cinemachine and having a confined space, so now the camera follows the player and stays within a set area, which is always nice to have. Now it's time for the meat and potatoes of today's devlog, the day-night cycle. The cycle actually is a very important piece of this game's progression. How we currently have it set up, starting in the plains, you move through different areas around the world based on the number of days you survived. 10 days equals the forest, 20 days equals the desert, and so on and so forth. One day consists of 3 different times: the morning, the midday, and the evening. Whenever you draw a card, one section of the day passes. In Aeterna, progression scales. As you enter the desert or the forest, you'll have better loot, or harder enemies, or unique encounters on your journey, compared to the previous area that you were already in. With the theory out of the way, I implemented it pretty quickly into Unity and had a lerping color system between times of day, and I also experimented with Unity's Universal Render Pipeline 2D global lights to see if I could add an extra little subtle effect with the lighting to make it that much more immersive. I think it's a pretty good start. The art is in, the day-night cycle is in, we have a player moving around, and we can draw cards like before. We are making great progress on our first portion of the game, however we still have a long way to go. Finally, let's head to Trello and clean up our dashboard and continue our journey throughout the creation of Aeterna.